The Call and the Response. High Arbiter Zillith stood at the crystalline observation deck of the Galactic Council's central spire on Harmony Prime. His four eyes blinked in synchronized distress as he watched the holographic display tracking the Void Plague's progress through the Orion Arm. 37 worlds lost in the past solar cycle alone. Each point of light in the display represented billions of lives extinguished as the nanophage consumed everything in its path, converting all matter into more of itself. "The quarantine protocols have failed again," announced Science Director Ellery, her tentacles waving patterns of defeat as she entered the chamber. "The Void Plague adapted to our containment fields. It's learning, evolving. As it has with every defense we've deployed," Zillith said, his voice a harmonious blend of tones that did nothing to hide his despair. "The Council has existed for 12,000 years. We have united 2,000 species under the banner of peace and cooperation. And now we face extinction within a standard year." The gathered representatives of the Council's inner circle shifted uncomfortably. Never in their collective memory had such a threat emerged. The Galactic Council had long ago eliminated warfare, violence, and conflict from their society. Their technological advancement had focused on harmony, healing, and sustainability. They had no weapons capable of stopping the Void Plague. "There is one option we have not discussed," said Elder Thune, the oldest member of the Council. His ancient, withered form floated in a suspension field, but his voice carried the weight of millennia. "The contingency protocol." A shocked silence fell over the chamber. "The contingency was established in the earliest days of the Council," Thune continued. "Before we had achieved true peace, it was meant as a last resort if we ever faced an existential threat." "You speak of the distress beacon," Zillith said, "the one designed to reach beyond our monitored space, to species we have observed but deemed unready for contact." "Precisely," said Thune. "There is one such species that might possess what we lack, the capacity for the kind of decisive action needed to combat this threat." Science Director Ellery's skin flushed a deep purple in alarm. "You cannot be suggesting we contact the humans." The name sent ripples of unease through the chamber. Earth had been under observation for centuries, but contact had been perpetually delayed. The humans were an anomaly in the galaxy, a species that had survived their own violent tendencies and reached into space without destroying themselves, yet had never fully abandoned their capacity for warfare. "They still engage in armed conflict," protested Ambassador Lyran. "Their society remains fractured. They burn with ambition and competitiveness. They are precisely the kind of species our founders sought to guide toward a more enlightened path." "And yet," countered Thune, "they possess the very qualities we now require: creativity born of conflict, technologies developed for destruction that might be repurposed. Most importantly, they understand existential struggle in ways we have forgotten." High Arbiter Zillith moved to the center of the chamber, his crystalline robes catching the light. "The Void Plague will reach Earth eventually. Whether by our hand or the Plague's, their isolation will end. At least this way, they have a chance to survive alongside us." The vote was taken. The beacon would be activated. None of them suspected that Earth's deep space monitoring arrays had detected the Void Plague years ago. None of them imagined that humanity had been watching the Council's futile containment efforts with growing concern. And none of them could have predicted just how prepared humans would be for this moment. Admiral Helena Chen stood on the bridge of the EDF Thunderchild, Earth Defense Force's newest dreadnought, as it emerged from fold space at the edge of the Harmony system. She was a compact woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that had witnessed humanity's expansion across their solar system and beyond. "Status report," she commanded. 7 Council vessels detected in orbit around Harmony Prime, reported her tactical officer. "Their weapons systems are minimal, defensive only, no immediate threat." Chen nodded. Humanity had been monitoring the Galactic Council for decades, intercepting their communications, learning their languages, and studying their technology. What they'd discovered was both impressive and concerning, an ancient civilization spanning half the galaxy, technologically advanced in many ways, but fundamentally unprepared for conflict. "They've detected us," said Communications Officer Rivera. "They're hailing us in standard radio frequencies. Very primitive." The main view screen flickered to life, showing High Arbiter Zilith, his 4 eyes widening in surprise as he beheld the human bridge crew. "This is unexpected," Zilith said in carefully practiced human English. "We activated the beacon mere days ago. We did not anticipate such a rapid response." "This is Admiral Helena Chen of the Earth Defense Force," Chen replied smoothly. "We've been aware of your situation for some time and have been preparing accordingly. We detected your beacon and decided it was time to make formal contact." The alien's expression would have been unreadable to most humans, but Chen had studied Council physiognomy extensively. His shock was evident. "You knew of us, of the Void Plague?" "We've been monitoring it for approximately 7 Earth years," Chen replied. "We've been monitoring your council for considerably longer." A new alien moved into the view screen frame. Elder Thune, his ancient form suspended in his gravity field. "Impossible. Our observation protocols are undetectable. We have monitored Earth for centuries without detection." Chen actually did smile this time. "With respect, Elder Thune, your observation satellites have been compromised for over 40 years. We've been feeding them selected data while developing our defenses and expansion programs out of your sight." The stunned silence that followed was broken by an alarm from Chen's tactical station. "Admiral, the Void Plague has accelerated. It's breached the Harmony System's outer markers. Estimated time to planetary contact, 18 hours. Chen's expression hardened. "High Arbiter, we have much to discuss, but time is limited. I'm transmitting coordinates for a rendezvous point. Bring your best scientists and your leadership council. We'll dispatch escorts to ensure your safety." "You intend to evacuate us?" asked Zilith. "No," Chen replied, her voice cold steel. "We intend to end this threat, but you need to understand what that means before we proceed. Humanity doesn't practice containment when faced with extinction. We practice eradication." As the transmission ended, Chen turned to her executive officer. "Deploy the battle group. I want a perimeter established and strike teams ready. The council representatives won't like our methods," her XO warned. Chen's eyes were flint. "They called for help. We're helping. How they feel about our methods is irrelevant. They've spent 12,000 years building a civilization that can't defend itself. We've spent our entire history preparing for moments exactly like this." The council delegation aboard the Thunderchild moved through the ship with a mixture of awe and growing horror. The vessel's purpose was unmistakable in its design. Everything functional, nothing wasted. The humans themselves were equally unsettling to the peace-loving council members, disciplined, alert, and clearly comfortable with the weapons they carried. In the ship's strategic command center, Admiral Chen presented the situation without embellishment. Holographic displays showed the Void Plague's expansion and humanity's planned response. "The Void Plague is a self-replicating nanomachine swarm," Chen explained. "Its programming is simple: consume and convert all matter to create more of itself. Your containment strategies failed because they gave it time to adapt." "We tried to communicate with it," protested Science Director Elorai, "to understand its purpose and reprogram it." General Marcus Blackwell, commander of Earth's Special Operations, gave a short, humorless laugh. "It's not sentient. It's not alive. It's a tool that's outlived its creators and run amok. The only communication it understands is extinction. Our planetary defense network has been retrofitted with specialized EMP weapons," Chen continued. "They'll disrupt the plague's nanomachines. Once destabilized, our ships will deploy thermal purification measures." "You mean weapons of mass destruction," said High Arbiter Zilith, his tone heavy with disapproval. Chen's gaze was unwavering. "We mean survival. Your council has spent millennia eliminating conflict from your society. Admirable, but it's left you defenseless against existential threats. Humanity took a different path. "What path is that?" asked Elder Thune, his ancient eyes studying the humans with new perception. "We didn't eliminate our capacity for violence," said Chen quietly. "We channeled it, controlled it, reserved it for moments when civilization itself hangs in the balance." The tactical display updated, showing hundreds of human ships emerging from fold space throughout the system. "You have hidden your true numbers," accused Ambassador Lyran. "Your military capabilities." "Of course we did," said General Blackwell. "Just as we hid our colonization efforts beyond our solar system. Just as we hid our weapons development programs. Your council would have deemed us unready for contact for centuries more, while we sat vulnerable to threats like the Void Plague. We observed developing species to protect them," protested Xylith, "to guide them toward peaceful cooperation." "No," said Chen, her voice sharp. "You observed them to ensure they fit your ideals before allowing them a place in your galactic community. Humanity chose a different approach. We prepared for the worst while hoping for peace." The holographic display shifted, showing a fleet of smaller vessels moving toward the advancing edge of the Void Plague. "The operation begins now," said Chen. "You may find our methods disturbing, but I suggest you watch carefully. The galaxy you knew ended when the Void Plague emerged. What comes next will depend on species that remember how to fight for their existence." Judgment Day. The Council delegation watched in stunned silence as humanity's battle fleet engaged the Void Plague. From the Thunderchild's command center, the operation unfolded with a precision that spoke of long preparation. This was not a hastily assembled response to a crisis. This was the execution of a strategy years in the making. "First wave deploying EMP disruptors," announced General Blackwell, his scared face illuminated by the tactical displays. "Targeting swarm concentrations." The displays showed human vessels, far smaller than the Thunderchild, but numbering in the hundreds, releasing clouds of specialized drones that penetrated the leading edge of the metallic gray cloud that was the Void Plague. Pulses of blue-white energy erupted throughout the swarm. Nanite activity dropping by 67% in targeted sectors, reported a technician. Disruptors functioning within expected parameters. "Second wave. Commence thermal purification," ordered Chen. Science Director Ellarai's tentacles coiled in distress as she watched what followed. The human ships released weapons that ignited the very fabric of space, creating microsons that burned for brief, intense moments before collapsing. Where they touched the Void Plague, nothing remained. "You're creating localized fusion reactions," she said, her voice trembling. "The radiation alone will make these regions uninhabitable for decades." "Better uninhabitable than consumed," replied Blackwell without looking away from the display. The alternative was allowing the plague to convert every living thing in its path into more of itself. High Arbiter Zilith moved closer to Admiral Chen, his crystalline form catching the light from the displays. "Admiral, I understand the necessity of stopping the Void Plague, but your methods, there must be less destructive alternatives." Chen's expression remained impassive. "High Arbiter, with respect, your council had decades to develop less destructive alternatives. You failed. The plague adapted to every containment field, every reprogramming attempt, every peaceful solution you proposed. Now we do this our way." The tactical display updated again, showing the Void Plague retreating from the human assault, its form breaking apart into smaller clusters. "It's attempting to disperse," noted Blackwell. Predicted response. Third wave. Deploy hunter-killers. A new set of vessels moved forward. Sleek, predatory craft that pursued the fragmenting swarm with relentless efficiency. Where the previous attacks had been broad and powerful, these were surgical, targeting each escaping cluster with weapons that seemed to fold space itself around their targets. "Dimensional compression weapons," explained Chen, noting the council members' confusion. "They create localized pocket universes with altered physical laws. Essentially, we're changing the fundamental constants that allow the plague's nanomachines to function." Elder Thune's ancient eyes widened. "Such technology, The power requirements alone would be astronomical, and the danger if containment failed is far less than the danger of allowing the void plague to continue. Chen finished for him. Humanity has never had the luxury of perfect solutions, Elder. We deal in necessary ones. As the operation continued, Ambassador Liran approached one of the human officers monitoring the battle's progress. Your people seem prepared for this, almost as if you expected to fight this war. The officer, Lieutenant Commander Seto, according to her insignia, glanced up briefly. Not this specific war, Ambassador, but war itself. Yes, humanity has never believed peace is the natural state of the universe. Peace must be defended, sometimes with force. The Council has maintained peace across half the galaxy for 12,000 years, protested Liran. And yet you were helpless against the first real threat you couldn't talk to, replied Sato, her attention returning to her console. Peace through strength isn't just a philosophy for us. It's how we survived long enough to reach the stars. 8 hours into the operation, Admiral Chen called for a status report. Void plague containment at 93%, reported her tactical officer. Hunter-killer teams are pursuing remaining clusters. Estimated time to complete eradication: 6 hours. Chen nodded, satisfaction evident in her posture if not her expression. Prepare decontamination teams for deployment to affected Council worlds. Priority on population centers and critical infrastructure. You intend to help us rebuild? Asked Zilith, surprise evident in his harmonious voice. Of course, said Chen. That was always part of the plan. Destruction without reconstruction is just more destruction. The Admiral gestured for the Council members to join her at a conference table that rose from the command center floor. As they gathered, a new holographic display appeared, showing not battle plans but star charts, dozens of them, spreading across the galaxy. What you're seeing is humanity's current sphere of influence, Chen explained. Colonies, outposts, research stations, and mining operations we've established over the past 60 years, all carefully hidden from your observation. The Council members stared at the display in shock. Human presence extended far beyond what they had believed possible, reaching into regions the Council had yet to fully explore. When we detected your observation posts in our system, we didn't simply hide our activities, Chen continued. We began preparing for eventual contact, on our terms, not yours. The Void Plague accelerated our timeline. This is unprecedented, said Elder Thune. No species has ever developed so far without Council guidance. Perhaps that's why we succeeded where you failed, suggested General Blackwell. We weren't constrained by your ideas of how civilization should develop. Admiral Chen raised a hand, silencing her colleague. What matters now is what comes next. The galaxy has changed irrevocably today. The Council's philosophy of peace, through isolation and gradual integration, has been proven insufficient. A new approach is needed. You propose an alliance? Asked Xylith cautiously. We propose a partnership, corrected Chen. Humanity brings strengths the Council lacks, the capacity to make hard decisions, to act decisively in the face of threats, to develop technologies without artificial constraints. You bring experience, established interspecies protocols, and a network spanning half the galaxy. And if we refuse? Asked Ambassador Liran, tension evident in his posture. Chen's expression remained neutral. Then humanity will continue its expansion independently. We will establish our own network of alliances with species who value security alongside harmony. The Void Plague will not be the last existential threat this galaxy faces. Species will gravitate toward those who can protect them. The implication hung in the air, unspoken but clear. The Council's days of unquestioned authority were over. Earth would not be taking a subordinate role in galactic affairs. They had arrived not as supplicants seeking admission to the Council's carefully managed community, but as equals, perhaps even superiors, offering protection the Council could not provide itself. You must understand our concern, said Elder Thune finally. For millennia, we have guided the galaxy away from militarism and conflict. Your approach represents everything our founders sought to transcend. With respect, Elder, replied Chen, your founders never faced the Void Plague. They never had to make the choices we made today. Peace is a worthy ideal, but peace without the strength to defend it is just vulnerability waiting to be exploited. As if to punctuate her words, the tactical display updated again, showing another cluster of the Void Plague being systematically eradicated by human hunter-killer teams. Consider this, Chen continued, her voice softening slightly. Today, humanity used weapons of awesome destructive potential with surgical precision to save billions of lives. Council lives. We didn't have to respond to your beacon. We could have remained hidden, protected our own interests, and allowed the Council to fall. Instead, we chose to act. She stood, looking each Council member in the eye. That's the true measure of a civilization, not whether it has the capacity for violence, but how it chooses to use that capacity. We choose to protect. We choose to defend. What will you choose? 3 months later, High Arbiter Zilith stood once again at the observation deck of the Council's central spire on Harmony Prime. The city below was transformed. Human decontamination teams worked alongside Council scientists, and Earth Defense Force vessels patrolled the skies. The last of the Void Plague has been confirmed eradicated in the Cygnus sector, reported Science Director Elorai. Joining him at the viewport, the human hunter-killer teams were thorough, as they have been throughout this crisis, said Zilith. Efficient, relentless, effective, and now firmly established throughout Council space, added Elorai, concern evident in her voice. Their military outposts, their technology-sharing programs, their cultural exchange initiatives, they're integrating themselves into the very fabric of our society. As we requested, reminded Zilith, the Protection Accord was approved by unanimous Council vote. Because we had no alternative, countered Elorai. We activated a beacon seeking saviors. What answered was something far more dangerous, a species that had been watching us, studying us, preparing for this moment while we remained ignorant of their true capabilities. Zilith was silent for a moment, contemplating the city below where humans worked side by side with dozens of Council species. Perhaps what we truly needed wasn't peacekeepers, but a reminder of what we've forgotten. That the universe is not inherently benevolent, that peace must sometimes be defended with force, that survival occasionally demands terrible choices. And you trust them to make those choices for us? Asked Elorai. Not for us, corrected Zilith. With us. The humans don't seek to replace the Council, only to transform it. They understand something we had forgotten. That true strength lies not in the elimination of conflict, but in how we choose to face it. Below them, a human transport lifted off, heading toward one of the Earth Defense Force vessels in orbit. Emblazoned on its side was the new symbol of the reformed Galactic Council, the traditional circle of unity, now embraced by a protective shield. We expected peacekeepers, said Zilith softly. What we found was judgment on our complacency, our self-satisfaction, our belief that we had transcended the harsh realities of existence. The humans brought fire, yes, but also the wisdom to know when to use it and when to extend a hand instead. And if that wisdom fails? Asked Elorai. Zilith turned from the viewport, his crystalline form catching the light. Then we will be there to remind them of the value of peace, just as they reminded us of the necessity of strength. That is the true meaning of partnership, balance between ideals. The galaxy had indeed changed irrevocably. It had awaited rescuers and found instead a mirror to its own complacency. What emerged from that reflection would be neither the Council's perfect harmony nor humanity's ready strength, but something new, a civilization prepared to face the darkness with both compassion and resolve, with both the desire for peace and the will to defend it. The universe, after all, cared nothing for ideals. It respected only survival.